City News on TV Rotorua is proudly brought to you by Rotorua Central.
Good evening, Rotorua. Ahead in tonight's bulletin. Work on the first stage of Rotorua's new green corridor pathway got underway in Quito Park today. The 2014 Business and Public Confidence Survey shows improved confidence in Rotorua, and then and now pictures are wanted by the library as part of their 125th celebrations. But first, the Civic Theatre is 75 this year, with plans for a community variety concert to celebrate the milestone. Originally known as the Regent Theatre, the Civic was opened in 1940, providing the city with a premier performance centre for the time. RLC Performing Arts Director Richard Marshall says the 75th birthday of the Civic is an opportunity to showcase our exceptional local talent.
It's very exciting. When you think back that Rotorua has had this building for the past 75 years, it's the prime time to celebrate what's been through that building in those 75 years and the number of people that have been entertained by coming into the centre.
So tell me a little bit more about the celebrations and what they're going to include.
Sure, so Celebrate 75 is to celebrate the 75th birthday, and we thought, why not open the doors to the community so that they can all be part of that celebration. So what we're going to do is have events from the 1940s, the 1950s, 1960s, 70s, all the way through to today for 10-minute slots, and we're asking the community to submit an expression of interest and say, yep, we want to be part of this event and showcase our talents and celebrate the 75th birthday.
The concert date for Celebrate 75 is set down for Saturday the 17th of July. Work on the first stage of Rotorua's new green corridor pathway got underway in Quito Park today, with the local company Goodrick Contracting Limited taking on the job. The Quito Park section of the corridor project will see existing pathways extended and widened to provide a compressed lime-chipped shared path for pedestrians and those on wheels. Rotorua Lakes Council's Sport and Recreation Portfolio Lead, Councillor Charles Sturt, says this phase of the Green Corridor project is expected to take approximately 5 weeks to complete and, depending on weather conditions, should be ready for use before the Crankworks Rotorua Mountain Bike Festival gets underway in late March. And figures just released by Council show Rotorua's economic future is looking increasingly positive, according to a new independent survey of local businesses and residents. The 6-month survey was carried out in December and January by APR consultants for Rotorua Lakes Council. The 2014 Business and Public Confidence Survey shows improved confidence in Rotorua over the next 12 months across most economic measures. Rotorua Lakes Council's Economic Growth Portfolio Lead, Councillor Dave Donaldson, says the survey showed conditions were generally aligning well for Rotorua in terms of expectations of more economic activity in the future. The full survey is available on the Council's website. And Rotorua residents are being encouraged to dust off their old photographs featuring the area for a new competition to celebrate the library's 125th anniversary. The competition invites participants to bring then and now images of Rotorua to the library.
So the Rotorua community, there's a lot of people out there, mums and dads, who took photos in their childhood and their children's childhood, and those photos are important to the social history of this community. So those are the photos that we'll be putting onto our online archive, and it's there for the community to actually look back and see how we were, how Rotorua has progressed. There's been so many changes in my lifetime that, for me, looking at the 1960s, it's like a whole different world. And I find that really interesting, and I know other people do too.
Entry into the Kete Rotorua photo hunt closed on March the 9th. In sport tonight, the Rotorua Bike Festival is debuting 2 new events tomorrow night, the Big Bike Film Night and the Revolve Rotorua Women's Ride. The film night is taking place at Waiariki, with the Women's Ride making use of our renowned trails in a fun, relaxing manner. To find out more about these events, visit rotoruabikefestival.com. To your weather update now. Tonight, fine with light winds and an overnight low of 13. Tomorrow, Thursday, sunny with light winds, a high of 26 and a low of 11. And the outlook for Friday, mainly fine with a chance of afternoon showers, light winds, a high of 26 and a low of 14. In the marine forecast for Lake Rotorua, variable 5 knots becoming southwest to 10 knots developing in the evening, with waves less than half a metre, and it looks to be fine. Coming up tonight, we visit the RSA and find out about Friday's Cyril Bassett speech competition, and we check out yesterday's Ride to Recycle.
Kia ora everybody, welcome back. I'm at the RSA now, just right next to Rotorua Council, and I'm with the President, John Trainer, who is going to be talking to me a little about what's been happening here over the summer and what the future plans are with building the community of the RSA. Kia ora, John.
Kia ora, Kiri. Well, this is a very interesting time for the RSA, not just the Rotorua RSA, but this marks the 99th year of the RSA's existence, including our own local RSA. And
so 100 years, is it next year that you celebrate that?
yes, indeed.
And so what are the plans? That's very, very important.
Well, there are plenty of plans. For example, we have WW100 right in our midst. This is the second year of the commemorations of World War I, and there are a number of activities. This year actually marks a very important part of New Zealand's involvement with World War I, because it was this year that Gallipoli campaign began on the 25th of April 1915, and this is the 100 years involvement since the Gallipoli landings.
So very significant, and we just happen to have something very beautiful here on the table, and I wondered if you might be able to share that kōrero, that story with our viewers tonight.
Thank you. Well, in front of me is the Gallipoli Star. It was commissioned by the Australian government in about 1916, and it was to acknowledge the efforts of the Anzac troops during the Gallipoli campaign. It was designed by the Australian government, sent to King George V for approval, and that it features in the centre of the medal, or the star, by virtue of his crown. It was not approved by the British government, therefore our Anzac troops were never issued with it, and it's been called the Star That Never Shone. The colours, as you look at them, from the left-hand side, we have the yellow stripe, which represents the wattle of Australia. On the right-hand side, as you look at it, is the silver grey of the silver fern. In the middle is the blue, representing the seas around the Dardanelles, and on either side are the 2 red stripes representing blood spilt in that campaign.
And of any of those colours, that is the most powerful, the red and the blood spilt, the memories, the lives.
Absolutely, it is indeed, and it's a very significant ribbon in itself, complemented by the medal approved by King George V.
And so this is the first time that I've actually come inside the RSA, into this area, and I have to say I'm blown away by the amount, the variety, the quality of the memorabilia that you have.
Yes.
There are some very, very significant items here.
Yes, and each and every one of them represents our members' involvement in conflicts going back to the Boer War, the South African War, right through to the latest conflict we were involved in, which was Afghanistan.
I see you have pictures of all of the VC, the Victoria Cross recipients, including Willie Apiata, he's up there.
Yes, indeed.
And not only that, but you have memorabilia from around the world. There are weapons from around the world. And tell us a little bit about the collection and what it means, because it really brings some feeling, some mana into this place, doesn't it?
And of course on display we have memorabilia from both sides, and if I may tell an interesting story about some of the German memorabilia. We've had visitors, tourists from Germany who come to visit our RSA. They see our memorabilia, they say that granddad or great-granddad has got some of his wartime memorabilia hidden in the attic or the basement. And in Germany you're not allowed to be in possession of any World War II memorabilia. So they asked, could we display it on behalf of granddad or great-granddad? And of course we do, because we sit in a neutral position from that. The other puzzling point for our German tourists is that we have a photograph of Rommel, the desert fox, world fame for his exploits in the North African campaign. And they do not understand why we have a photo of the enemy next to Field Marshal Montgomery. But to us, he is a hero. Doesn't matter what side he was on, and a very good leader of soldiers. And his mana is recognised by his leadership qualities. Doesn't matter what side he was on.
Well, there we have John Trainer at the RSA, the Rotorua RSA, and of course, as always, he is a very, very softly spoken, kind-hearted man, and he extends the welcome out to everybody to come down to the RSA and enjoy the feeling that is here. Thank you so much for your time, John.
Tēnā koe.
Well, a very special occasion here at the Rotorua RSA for the Cyril Bassett VC speech competition, featuring I think 12 to 13 students, secondary students, on the subject of New Zealand and New Zealanders in World War I, a speech contest. And I have to say, listening to some of these kids, I just totally blown away. With me is Clive Collingwood from the RSA, representing the RSA. You'd have to agree there's some pretty powerful stuff we've heard today.
Oh, there's some pretty good stuff, and as I said at the beginning, they'll blow you away, which, as you just said, they do.
Now, they had to stand up in the front here for 8 minutes and talk about, I guess, whatever they've created in terms of memories and reminders for us to remember.
That's correct. The contest or the speech goes for 8 minutes, up to 8 minutes, and this year it was on World War I and concepts that they've got out of World War I, yes.
Let me ask you, Clive, and I know you're the district president for the Waikato, King Country and Bay of Plenty, and that's where these kids have come from. It's quite a wide region. This is a regional final. For someone like yourself to hear these young teenagers, year 12 and 13, I think, what's it do to you?
Oh, it brings back a lot of memories, like from my grandfather and things like that. And it just encouraged me to know that these young children, or they're not children anymore, these young adults, are actually taking on board our history, and they're actually learning what our forefathers went through and did, yeah.
And over the past sort of 4 or 5 years, we've seen a greater emphasis of young people taking part in the parade on Anzac Day and so on, and really remembering. So it's got to be good for us as a country and our identity, and even that was touched on several times in the speeches.
Yeah, that's right. We've been running this contest now for 8 years, and 8 years it's got better and better, and I think that is what's helping bring the young people to forefront and understanding what we went through and what our forefathers went through and things like that, and that's what's encouraged them to come out to Anzac parades.
And as we said before, just there were some quite moving moments there that really tugged at the heartstrings. Do you think, where did these young guys, young girls get this from? But there's a heritage from, I guess, somewhere here in New Zealand.
Yes, the young girls and boys, well, as I said, adults, they do all their own research. It's up to them to do their research. The school has very little to do with it. So yeah, it's time consuming for the cadets and the students, and yeah, they go through it and they learn it all themselves.
A pretty hard judging process today.
Oh, that's why we get the Toastmasters.
Yeah, sure.
Toastmasters do it nationwide, so it's the same right through the country. So.
Well, congratulations on another really awesome event, and hopefully it keeps going. I think it will. It's here to stay, isn't it, really?
Oh, yeah, awesome, yeah. And as long as we've got ANZ behind us, we're always going to be there.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
No te aroa, no te wai paunamu, no ngata e wha, koko tau e nā, e ngā rau e rima, te hoko whitu toa, atu mātou e ngai. Kneeling at the feet of my ancestors and my marae, Tino Hopu, I am again made aware of the battles fought through the whakairo decorated by the old dusty photos of those who were at Passchendaele, the Somme, Gallipoli and Chinook Bay. I then come to realisation. It has been 100 years. 100 years since the forging of our nation's identity. 100 years since 18,000 New Zealand lives were lost to the bayonet in the blood-drenched fields of Europe. 100 years since war ignited a fire which would burn and rage across Europe, toppling ancient empires, destroying great armies, and damaging generations for years to come. Communities of people, young and old, stand silently on hallowed soil around monuments across the country. With bowed heads, we pay our respects to those who sacrificed their lives in the Great War. We acknowledge the medal-decorated veterans and can only imagine the scenes that earned them those honours. Commemorating that time in our nation's history is a common yet poignant scene throughout God's own country. From our biggest cities to our smallest towns, we listen as the last post echoes in the silence of the dawn.
Everybody, well, you all should know that I hate rubbish with a passion, and I'm here with some ilk, somebody that hates rubbish with a passion, but also loves people with a passion, so it's a wonderful combination. Marcelo or Harrio?
You got it.
I got it.
You got it.
I got it.
First time, you got it. Nice
Thank you
work.
very much. Now tell me a little bit about some of your nice work that you're doing out in our community.
Well, basically, I'm just going out and doing what I normally do, which is going for bike rides, but I thought every time I come past a piece of rubbish, I try and pick a little bit up, and I think if more people could just pick up one or two things on their rides, it would end up leaving the environment in a better situation than it was when they started their ride.
Absolutely. Leave your path clean, right? Leave your path clean and leave it for others to enjoy. So where did this come from? I mean, obviously there must have been a moment where you just went, you know what, I'm going to start talking about this. I'm going to start doing stuff. I'm going to start promoting this. You know, where did that come from? Was it something from your childhood that you've always loved nature? I mean, what are you about?
Well, I think really I came over here originally to mountain bike for more of a performance side of things, and I was always passing by rubbish on the tracks, but in too big of a hurry, in too much of a rush. And recently, stepping away from a retail career, I had a little bit more time on my hands, and it was time to really walk the talk. And I was approached by my friend Rose Hiha from District Council, Keep Rotorua Beautiful, Keep New Zealand Beautiful. And also, I think I remember reading fairly recently about, I believe it's Michael State in correct me if I'm wrong, the Rubbish Warriors. And I thought, how cool is that? And I had some time on my hands and finally the motivation, and I basically gave myself a kick in the butt to walk my talk.
Absolutely. Thank you, Marcelo.
You're
Good
welcome.
luck with your ride, and if there's anything that I can do in the future to support you with what you're doing, then I will.
Cool.
Kia ora.
Thanks for your time today.
Kia ora, Rose.
Kia ora.
Nice to see you again. We're always catching up like this and always about something very important. Tell me a little bit about what the Ride to Recycle event is about today.
Today's Ride to Recycle is in collaboration with Rotorua Bike Festival, which has kicked off this week, and I've attended some myself and it's been amazing. So we've had really good turnout today. This is about our 4th Ride to Recycle event that we've done, and it's a really good way to give emphasis about keeping our cycleways and walking ways free of litter. We do have huge events in Rotorua, and it's really, you know, when you see that on the side of the road, if you're commuting or riding, you notice it straight away. So it leaves an impression for our tourists and visitors, and that's where Ride to Recycle come about.
Wonderful. So there's quite a few initiatives that you're doing, and tell us, you've been in the job maybe for a year now, is it? Or a couple of years?
Just a year and a half.
There we go. I was halfway there.
Still a fantastic job. The good thing about this job is you get to meet really great people and you work a lot in the community. So part of our initiatives at the moment, we've got a new chairperson, Dr. Craig Morley from Wairiki. And we're looking at setting up 3 distinct teams, and they're going to have a team leader, and it's going to be all around our 3 major projects that we want to develop our strategy over the next 2 to 5 years, which is going to be inorganic waste, waste minimisation, and reducing plastic bottles and plastic bags. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
all of
really
those.
excited about having these individual 3 teams, and we're probably going to sort of open it up to the public and get some people involved, and if you want to help drive small projects through to larger projects, these are what these teams are going to be.
That's so great to hear. Tell me a little bit about your involvement and why you care so much about nature, and why you care about keeping things clean, and why, you know, what drives you to get up in the morning?
Well, you know, I have children and a family, and because we love outdoor lifestyle, it's huge in Rotorua. We love fishing and riding, and I've been commuting to work every day. So that part of landscape and nature, you're around it all the time, so you notice when things are really a mess, and that's probably part of it for me. I'm also very proud to be a Kiwi. It encompasses everything, and I love being a tidy Kiwi. Part of my role is working with the national organisation, and we'll be kicking off some Be a Tidy Kiwi programs as well later in the year.
Well, everybody, make sure that if you're out and about and you see rubbish lying around, that you get in there and you pick it up. Be a tidy Kiwi, look after our country, be proud. Most of all, don't drop it there in the first place. And if you can, get along and support Keep Rotorua Beautiful, Keep New Zealand Beautiful, Ride to Recycle, and all of those people doing wonderful work out there to protect and preserve our beautiful country. Thank you so much, Rose.
Thank you.
That was Rose Hiha Agnew and Marcello Ochero talking to Kitty Danielle at yesterday's Ride to Recycle. For more information or to contact the show, email news@tvrotorua.co.nz, or you can phone the station and talk to one of the producers on 3488 984. Thanks for joining us tonight. Ko Maria.
supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.
City News on TV Rotorua was proudly brought to you by Rotorua Central.